All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. Today I have Daniel Stanphill. He is SMT process engineer at Aurora Boardworks. He's the co-host of the D Code podcast, and he's
Yep.
been in the PCB world for a while and worked across many different aspects from PCB assembly, maintenance, and IT production. He's very passionate. He shares a lot of really insightful articles and posts, stuff that I had no idea about. So Daniel, thanks for joining and thank you for sharing all the insight that you do.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
I want to start off with kind of talking about your story and how you got to where you are, if you don't mind, just kind of explaining your journey leading to where you are now.
Sure. I think like most people in electronics, I started out painting houses. So I was in construction for quite a long time, and uh, I was working as a house painter. I'd never been in electronics, and I wanted to get out of it, so I went to school for computer programming and web design. And I kept the only way I could afford to go was by working full time the entire time. So while I was going to school for 4 years, my position at the company kept changing. And by the time I was close to graduating, I actually was the most senior position below the owner, and he was getting up in age. And so I wrote him a proposal to take over the business, and he accepted. So I could either have taken my degree and gone entry level into IT somewhere, or take over as a small business owner of something I'd spent 10 years hard work and working my way up through the ranks. So at that time, that's what I chose to do, have the freedom and flexibility of being my own boss. And for a while, that was pretty fun, but there was a lot of stress involved to that. I can just leave that there. But I ended up moving out. My wife, her parents lived out about an hour west of us, out in the country, and they wanted to simplify their life and downsize and move into town, and needed somebody younger to deal with all the hard work of an acreage. So we moved out of town, and I totally changed my business model. Instead of having multiple crews with employees, I was just doing my own thing in the small town area. But it wasn't really fulfilling in that sense. And another thing about it was I had been doing new construction, and they would keep me busy during the winter. But then when I came out to the smaller areas, there wasn't as much work for one guy to keep himself busy all winter long. And I had a wife at home with two small kids, and she wasn't working. So money had to come from somewhere. And during the winter months, it got pretty hard. So I just randomly, just on a total whim, ended up applying here. And ended up working out. The interview process itself blew me away, and seeing all the equipment for the first time. And I mean, I just never stopped. I've loved it from the first day and have gotten involved in every facet of the business I can.
That's awesome. I mean, not some of the journey during it, I'm sure was difficult, but having
Sure.
that sort of transition to something where I feel like based on your posts, like every day you're learning and improving, and it seems like you really enjoy what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you do the same job for 15 years that you were never passionate about in the first place, and you actually kind of lose touch with how little passion you do have. You don't even realize it's something you're missing until I experienced it, and suddenly I was like, man, I need to grab hold of this because this is something I can really enjoy. And if I can actually get paid to do something I enjoy, what a charmed life that could be. So
Yeah.
it I've invested everything I can into it. So I started on the production floor and worked my way up through the assembly lines and all the different equipment, learning how it all works and programming all the different machines, figuring out just the ins and outs of all of it, and have a few different positions now, but it's been a lot of fun.
So how does the typical kind of ranking go? Where do you start, and then what's the best spot to start, I should say?
I don't know if there's a real necessarily set blueprint for it. And I think that's one of the things that's so interesting about it. I mean, if I could come from construction and just grasp it so quickly and enjoy it. I mean, sure, I had a programming degree, so it's not like I was totally foreign to how a computer worked. And I worked at Kawasaki when I was younger as a pipe fabricator running CNC tube benders. So I had some relevant experience for sure, but it's not like I had a clue what a capacitor, or resistor, or diode was, or how any of those things work together, or what the substrates were made of, or I mean, I I'd put a computer together. I bought all the parts one by one when I was like 14 or 15. And once I eventually had enough parts, I got it all put together. And that was a fun experience. But I never, besides buying a motherboard and knowing what the specs on it were in this computing sense, I never had any clue what the components on it were or how any of it worked. I've been looked at every single day of work as kind of being inside of a how it's made episode.
That's cool. Yeah. That's why some of your, I mean, I don't know what to comment on them because I don't know what's going on in a
Sure.
good portion of your post, but yeah,
They're pretty
it's
niche.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now, what kind of advice would you give to someone who is looking to get into sort of the electronic industry or PCB assembly industry?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. What I've found is that there's so many people who have 10, 20, 30 years experience doing this that are eager to help somebody who truly wants to learn. I mean, it's kind of I kind of can't even help but when I'm talking to somebody about it, like get excited about the stuff we're talking about. So I think if somebody's maybe reached the point of their career where it is a little bit more mundane and they're so used to everything they're doing, and then here's somebody who's kind of more towards the beginning of their career and really energetic and enthusiastic about the concepts they're learning, I think that's contagious, and they want to experience that again because they're so far removed from what that was like because they've known so much for so long.
Yeah,
But people are really willing, they're willing to help and bring you along. And I think I've accelerated my learning and my career a ton through LinkedIn connections and people who are willing to engage and share their knowledge and experience with you. So don't be bashful.
that's great advice. How do you think the Decode podcast has helped you as far as like learning more too? Because I'm assuming, I mean, some of the guests I've seen on too, you get different perspectives on things. You're getting in experts throughout the industry, so I'm sure you learn a ton from that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the podcast is like an excuse for reach that you would never have otherwise. Some of the people that I've been in contact with through the podcast, I can't imagine having the kind of access to them that I now do. Like they're people with a huge footprint in the industry that really had to earn their spot, and they're willing to give somebody like me the time of day. It's just incredible. So the podcast has been really enriching for all of us involved. And the first time we were all able to be together was at a SMTA show in Chicago. And that was our first time actually together as a group. And we were meeting a lot of people for the first time that we had interacted with some. But it's really something fortifying those relationships that start virtually and then you get together in person and just really build on that. And we're going to get to do that a few more times this year. And it's kind of growing in a way that's way beyond any of our anticipation when we first started. So that part's just been awesome. And the access to industry titans who are happy to talk to us is just incredible.
That's awesome.
I know it's been the same for you too. I've definitely noticed you've been getting an insane quality of and quantity of guests. It's been very impressive for how long you've been doing this too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things too. Similar situation. I'm like, I can't even believe that I'm able to have these people on. It's almost like you're like starstruck kind of deal, where you
Yeah.
reach out and you're like, hey, we'll see if they respond, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'll join. You're like, okay, cool. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, for sure. I met a lot of those people that you've had on at IMTS, and I was pleasantly surprised how cool they all were. It wasn't just like,
Right.
oh, those are the popular people who aren't, you can't talk to them. They're behind the red carpet or velvet curtain or whatever. But no, they're all down to earth, very cool. The Jim Myers and Nikki
Oh yeah.
Gonzalez's of the world, and all those people who are there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, what is your plan for 2025 as far as the decode?
So I don't know when this will be released, but we're kind of already starting to talk about it on LinkedIn some. So IPC APEX is an expo that is the biggest thing in North America for our industry. I guess, depending on where in the industry you are, maybe like a CES type of show may be more fitting or whatever. But like for our purposes, it's as big as it gets. and they have given us press credentials and provided a space for us to have our booth there. So we'll actually be able to do live interviews from the Apex show floor, and that's just going to be crazy. We're going to have a lot of fun
That's
there.
sweet.
And so we're kind of hoping there's a couple other things like that in the works, and some other people that we've already talked to that we have some other things in the works that we're not quite ready to reveal yet, but just really exciting stuff that is happening way sooner than any of us expected. So
That's
can't
awesome.
wait for
That's
that.
always, yeah, that's really cool. One of those things, yeah, you probably never anticipated, but super happy that it's happening, you know?
Yeah, Sean Kincaid and Elias Malfavon, they're the two. They would both, and my little brother, Paul Stanphill's our producer. So Paul I could get away with, but the other two I'd really have to hear it if I didn't mention them. But Sean was the one who, to his credit, came up with the idea and started talking about. I'd never even met or heard Elias's name yet when Sean and I first started talking about doing a podcast, and I was pretty reluctant to do it. I mean, for one, I was already really busy with the daily job, and I knew it's not going to be easy to just do this. Like you say, like the recording's the easy part, right? You can have a fun conversation with anyone. That's easy. Promoting it, editing it, going through it, figuring out how to mark. I mean, there's so much to it. It's just there's scheduling that's not easy. Like especially for us, we've got three people on the screen, one behind, and that's before we get any guests involved. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of schedules to make work when this is just kind of a hobby. It's not even our day job, you know?
Hmm.
So that's been a challenging balance for sure, figuring out how to promote growth but not let it overshadow the things that all of us have to do every day and become too big of a distraction that it is more of a hurt than a help. I think we've been doing
Exactly.
pretty good so far.
Well, that's good. Yeah, and it sounds like, so you said IPC Apex?
Yep.
Okay. When is that show?
That is in Anaheim, California, March 15th through the 20th, I believe.
Okay. I will make sure to at least check in on the live feed. So you're going to be on the live feed, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do a few things that are truly live. Like, I'm sure we'll actually stream a few things and we'll conduct a bunch of interviews from the floor that'll get edited and released later too. So we have a lot of things to figure out there. I mean, it's going to be our first booth as a group, you know, so we have to figure out graphics and all that kind of stuff. But it's it's coming together quick, thankfully, because the event's coming at us pretty fast. So there's a lot to do in a short time, but we're all eager to take that challenge on for sure.
That's awesome. And that does conclude the rapid fire. For those of you watching, just look at like the Decode podcast, what's possible. You know, they started this and I'm sure they didn't anticipate it growing. So it just shows that if you put in the effort and the time and the energy, like awesome things can happen. So, Daniel, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, David.